Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of Reading Philosophy with Meenakshi. We were doing a few philosophical readings the last time, and today we are talking about philosophy's lack of progress, which talks about that all philosophers for so many years, for centuries, means for hundreds of years, they have all that they have done is just question things and debate about things. And why do philosophical problems resist solution? But there's no solution to the problems that they talk about. I mean, you talk about any theory, you talk about Plato's theory of philosopher king, his disciple, his student Aristotle questioned it. The people after that, Greek philosophers questioned it. There was no resolution. So you take up any theory of philosophy, they just discuss and just leave it at that. So it says philosophy seems to be on a hiding to nothing, means there's nothing to hide. It has a 2500-year history in the West and an extensive back catalog of problems. Back catalog means a whole list of problems which it has not solved, right? So for 25 years, 2500 years, Western philosophy has not given solutions. There are questions about what exists and what we know about, such as, do we have free will? Free will means you can just behave as you want. Or is there an external world, or is it just our imagination? Does God exist? And so on. And there are also questions of analysis and definition, such as, what makes a sentence true? So that means that, I mean, you're saying a sentence, but is it truth? And what defines truth? What makes an act just? Just means it is fair, it is according to justice. What is causation? Causation means the theory of things happening, causal theory. What is a person? How do you define a person, a human being? And this is a tiny sample for almost, and this is a very small sample of the questions that philosophy has discussed, but it has not answered. It's not given a solution, a permanent solution to these issues. For almost any abstract notion, notion is an idea, abstract is something that you just imagine. So some philosopher, abstract is something which has no form as such. So these any formless idea, some philosopher has wondered what it really is. So always philosophers have thought about it, they have wondered, but they have not found a solution. Yet despite this wealth of question, but in spite of this means बावजूद उसके, in spite of this wealth of questions and centuries spent tackling them, wealth of questions, it says, because these questions are there in the minds and the hearts of the people and the philosophers. So it's creating a wealth of knowledge, and the centuries spent in tackling, trying to solve them, philosophers haven't successfully provided any answers. So they've tried long and hard, but said nothing towards answering those questions has quite made the grade. Made the grade here meaning has made a mark. So none of the answers have really made a mark. Other philosophers haven't been slow to pick holes in their attempted answers. And what happens? Other philosophers, so some philosophers try to answer, other philosophers haven't been slow to pick the holes, means they have found the loopholes in what the philosophers try to answer, and expose the flaws or the dubious assumptions. Assumptions are the notions, the ideas that we have. So the dubious means the double face, something which is unclear, something which is negative in them. So somebody gives a theory, then somebody finds a fault in it. So no theory gets completed. The punctures in the attempted answers, punctures means the holes created by your opponents, and then gets patched up and put up for discussion again. So it's like a tire which has many holes and punctures. It gets repaired and then it's put up for discussion. But again, something is not found out. So, but whatever happens is that new punctures appear, or the patches fail and the old punctures are revealed again. So the same problems again are restarted. Philosophy emerges as a series of arguments without end, and its questions settle into seemingly intractable problems. Intractable, something which cannot be tracked, something which you cannot go into or solve it. So something which is unsolvable. Here is a little gem from the 18th century known as the Mullinex problem. A Mullinex problem ka ek issue let us take up in the honor of the Irish scientist and politician William Mullinex, who posed a question that has stumped philosophers ever since. So this guy, William Mullinex, asked a question, posed a question, meaning asked a question, which has created a problem for the philosopher. Stumped means, just bold straight away, and they've not been able to answer anything. Imagine somebody completely blind from birth, who's been able to explore both a cube and a globe by touch. So here Molinik said that imagine a person who's completely blind and he has just touched a cube and a globe, meaning a circle, and only by touch he knows it. Now this person later learns to identify and name these shapes. So he knows it, but he's blind. And suppose this person is later able to see, would they then be able to identify which is the cube and which is the globe just by sight? So just by looking at it, will they be able to identify that this was the cube and this was the globe? Just by looking at it, not by touching, because they have been used to the sense of touch. Imagine them standing at a distance from the shapes. So they're standing at a distance and trying to find out. Would they be able to tell simply by looking which was the globe and which was the cube? And here is a companion experiment now called the knowledge argument. So now a similar companion thought experiment, meaning a similar experiment, now called the knowledge argument. By reading the appropriate books, you could learn all about the chemistry of ammonia. So we can learn about ammonia by reading the books. By reading more books, you can learn all about how human olfactory system, olfactory is the sense of smell, that works, and in particular how it reacts in response to the ammonia molecules. So you and I have all studied chemistry, and we have studied how ammonia molecules से हमारे nose में क्या reaction, how we sense it. What distinct changes occur in the mucous membrane? Mucus is the nasal membrane, and the olfactory nerves, the nerves that carry the sensation of the smell. Given all this textbook information, could you then know all there is to know about the smell of ammonia? Now, can we really, understand the smell just by reading? Can we experience the smell just by reading about how ammonia smells, or how it reacts to how our senses react to it? Or is there something about the smell of ammonia, the qualitative experience of that sharp, pungent aroma, that you won't understand from learning, independent of experience? So here they are saying that, or there is something special about that smell of ammonia, the pungent, the when it is very unpleasant, and it touches your senses, goes in your nose, and you experience. So without experiencing the actual smell, can you understand just by reading? That's what the question is. A very similar question to the Mullinex example. And these thought experiments and others like them generate debates that run and run, and these debates keep on going on and on. It's not simply that there's a different side to take on any of these puzzles. So there's no different side to take in any of these. Both are similar kind of puzzles. It's that a strong opening case can be made and sustained. So a strong opening case means you start arguing about it, and sustained means for a long time you can talk about it, about each of these viewpoints, despite the fact that these viewpoints conflict. And in spite of the conflict between these viewpoints, you can still have a debate about them. Take the second thought experiment. It seems, now take the second thought, meaning the ammonia experiment. It seems that knowledge of the aroma of ammonia, what it actually, so having the knowledge of the actual smell of ammonia is not the kind of information you can get from reading books, correct? You cannot get the actual smell without smelling it, right? But then there are facts about human experience that can't be captured by science, and what it can report in itself. So these experiences we cannot report in the textbook. Is there more to us than is scientifically describable? So is there more to human beings that can be described by science? And if so, it implies, means it you conclude that humans aren't purely physical systems. So there is just the physicality of human beings is not enough. The science part of human beings is not enough. There is more to us. A remarkable exception to what the natural sciences otherwise tell us about the world. So the natural sciences means the physics, chemistry, biology, and all the other sciences. They tell us that everything is physical, and we can understand that through the subjects. But this is actually beyond science, which the natural sciences have not told us. They have said that everything can be defined according to science. The human beings can be defined, but actually our senses and so many more things that are there which can't be defined by science. Similarly, about that, philosophical concept. So keep reading this article. I'll share the link of this article, and keep following the channel. Please like and subscribe. I would love to have more members listening. Please share with your friends and do comment. Thank you very much. Bye bye.